everyone, this is China Paradigm, where we, Dashi Consulting, interview seasoned entrepreneurs in China. Hello everyone, I'm Matthieu David, the founder of Dashi Consulting, a China market research company, and its podcast, China Paradigm. And today, I'm with Greg Nance. You are the founder of Dyad.com. Is it correct?
That is correct.
And Dyad is a mentorship platform that has helped students to earn, I was impressed by the number, 27 million USD of scholarships. First, I didn't know it was that big. As I could be that big as a market, and secondly, on the amount you help to get. You raised money from venture capital SOSV, as far as I read, and you have been named by PayPal as the Asia's most promising startup, which I've raised $1 million in venture capital. That's what I was saying before, that you raised money. You are also the co-founder of MoneyThink. I think that's something which is very Chinese. We can't stop with one startup. We have to create another one. And you started Dyad.com in 2012. So it has been some time already. You are among the club of entrepreneurs, 4 entrepreneurs in China who have passed the 5 years death valley, when actually it's hard to raise over over a certain amount of revenues and to build a lasting business. Thanks very much for being with us. And
absolutely.
First question is, what's your core business? So what do you do? We understand that it's a mentorship platform, but what do you provide to your clients, and who are your clients?
Yeah, so it's a B2C model at Dyad.com. We sell actually to students and their families. And the core user is actually a student who has really big dreams for overseas study or an overseas career. But it's really confusing going from somewhere in China or somewhere in India or Nigeria to the United States of America. And so our platform is a freemium style platform, meaning we have a lot of free resources, articles, videos, events, webinars. You can join all of that totally for free. And after you've enjoyed some of those articles and videos and you've seen some of the insights and expertise, then you can say, hey, I want to work one-to-one with one of these expert mentors. And so our core business, we actually create a program of one-to-one mentorship, customized and tailored for you based on our experience building really great curriculum that help you build your background, then inform you about your options, and then actually build a step-by-step game plan to help you get to that dream university, to secure that scholarship, to land that dream job.
I believe we understand a bit better how you work by understanding your business model. So the students pay your platform or the mentor? Do they pay through the platform, the mentor? Do they pay access to premium videos? Could you tell us more about what you are selling as a product? What's the business model?
Yeah, absolutely. So from a business model perspective, a student or their family will actually pay Dyad.com directly. So they pay our company, and then we actually match them with a team of mentors. The mentors will then work side by side with these, we call them scholars, that's the name of our client, work with the scholars over the duration of their program. Programs can be short, just a month or two, or 18 months, 24 months, 36 months. And our mentors a team of mentors will work with them as we go. And we will actually pay these mentors for the awesome work and the really great kind of inspiration that they're providing as they go.
So now I understand why you insisted when I introduced your company on the .com, because it's fully a platform. You're connecting the mentors, the scholars, sorry, you named them scholars, with the students.
That's right. So it's all online, and that's we were actually the very first of our kind in September 5th, 2012 when we launched. There's nothing like us. We had seen that there's all these brick and mortar, study abroad agencies or Zhangjia that are providing advice. A lot of it's not very good. It's not very helpful. It's certainly not expertise. At the very best, it's based off kind of hearsay. We knew we could do it better. And the .com and the digital reach that we have has allowed us to do it way better and at a larger scale by helping students literally all around the world through this information and through this inspiration.
How much is Chinese? I mean, how much the audience is Chinese?
About 80% of our clientele is Chinese, and then we've helped folks from 24 other countries too.
I see. Talking about platforms, the challenge of a platform like any platform like Alibaba, Amazon, whatever, it is to certify the product or certify the supplier. Alibaba business model actually initially is not money on a transaction, because if you buy like 10,000 shoes, you are not going to go through the platform. You're going to go from one bank account to another bank account. So Alibaba makes money with certification. So they tell the factory to pay for certification, like gold supplier, silver supplier. So how do you make sure that the scholars you have on your platform are the mentors are good enough in terms of training, that you have kind of harmonization, and finally that the fit is working?
Yeah, huge questions, and ones that are those are $1 million questions. If you get that right, you're going to build a great business. If you get it wrong, you're not going to go very far. It starts for us with really, really great instruction and great mentorship. So I start on that side of the platform, because if you can really build a great product, I think you can attract a lot of the right customers that can get a lot of value from it. So we recruit folks with outstanding credentials. These are folks from Oxford, Cambridge, Harvard, Yale, Stanford, really, really top-notch schools. But that's not enough. That's just the beginning. From there, we have a rigorous interview process. We want to make sure that you're the kind of person who's patient, who's friendly, who has really great insights, and you're not just some brainiac who isn't reflective and doesn't know how you actually achieve that opportunity. I prefer to find people who, maybe it's a Harvard graduate that had a 3.5 GPA. So they're really smart, but they didn't have a 4.0. They weren't able just to get into Harvard based off pure academic merit. It was the academic merit plus the insights around how they could actually put together a great application. So a lot of it's in the selection process. Then we have a pretty rigorous training process to get you up to speed on a lot of the insights that we've collected over 7+ years. And then it's all about real-time quality control. So our platform is built with scalable quality. In real time, we know how customers are enjoying the product because they're giving us, a 1 to 5 star rating. They're giving us feedback. They're in touch with our enrollments and scholar success team. And with that real-time feedback, we're actually able to improve the curriculum on an hourly basis. We're able to know on a minute-to-minute level, is this scholar satisfied? Are they getting value out of this? Or are they confused? Or are they lost? Because really, applying for a university or a scholarship or a dream job overseas, it's stressful and it's really anxiety-inducing. The more that we know where you are in any one moment, the more that we can actually give real-time help and support, be responsive. And so for us, that's our kind of, Alibaba style certification. If we have great mentorship and then the scalable quality behind the platform, we're going to do some really, really good work. To the second part of your question, how about the customer side? Well, for us, we're on a mission to expand education access. And so the key thing, are you motivated and are you coachable? And if you're motivated and if you're coachable, we want to help you. We want to give you great mentorship. And if you're not motivated, if you're not coachable, we're not the right platform for you. Ultimately, you can find someone, if you need a babysitter or if you need someone to write an essay for you, well, that's not us. That's not what we do. But if you want to be informed and inspired, you're motivated and coachable, awesome. And so we work with all kinds of different students, different ages, different talent levels, different English speaking capacity. And as long as you're motivated and coachable, we're going to do some great work together.
I talked about one number, which is 27 million USD in scholarships. Would you mind sharing a bit more about the size of the business now, in terms of team, in terms of revenues, in terms of number of students you have coached?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have crossed 2,100 customers, scholars over the 7 years. We've helped these folks do some amazing work. 40% of those folks get into a top 20 U.S. university. and a full 45% get into one of the UK's G5, like the top five British universities. So we've really built, I think, a pretty powerful niche amongst really motivated, talented students getting into really, really terrific universities. The number I'm proudest of, as you introduced me, is the $27 million. And since actually, I sent over notes for the show, we've actually had a couple really big wins, including another full scholarship to Oxford University. So I'll have to recompile the data there. The number is going to be even higher this next time around. So that really, really fires me up. We've done all that. We have a team of 3 folks here at headquarters. So it's extraordinarily lean that we've been able to build out a lot of this as we've gone. And we've got 40 mentors that are active on platform doing a lot of the amazing work. And one thing that I really enjoy and appreciate about this business is that it's a bit of an accordion almost, where it's very seasonal. So students really, really need help with scholarship applications, with university applications from like October through January. And then from February to September, most students aren't really thinking about the application. They're, going about their day. They're joining extracurriculars, they're doing their studies. And so we're able to be flexible in the face of that. And that's one way that I think we've been able to both survive and to thrive for 7 years here.
How do you manage this cycle? Because I believe you are very busy from maybe July to prepare the season, and then until March and April.
Yeah, so there are definite challenges there for sure, and I think it would be simpler if it was more of an even keel and just like a level growth pattern throughout the year. But that's not the market dynamic, and so for us, we seek to be deliberate in our preparation. And so, for instance, in the late winters when we assemble a lot of scholar feedback and we use that to rapidly iterate next year's product and next year's service offerings, we then actually field test a lot of that in the spring. We get lots of good, real-time data from folks. And a lot of our happy customers are then making referrals. Hey, you should join Diet. This was really, really impactful for me. And then we're able to then test out more of these materials with some of those early adopters for the next cycle. I'm also really, really big about work-life blend. And so our team, we encourage folks, hey, you love scuba diving? Like, go work on your next scuba diving certification. Hey, you love ultimate frisbee? Let's go play in some more tournaments this spring. You love hiking or running? Let's go do more of that. So, my belief is that life is an ultramarathon, and enjoy it while it's there. Go push yourself, and there are different seasons of life, certainly. And so that's one element that I've really enjoyed about a little bit of the seasonality behind the company.
I see. It's a good way to see it, because seasonality is usually very, very difficult to manage. But indeed, if you see that part of the year is more for yourself as a balance on work, that's a good perspective. You talked about scholars, students. We are referring actually you as a good platform which helped. How do you reach out to new clients, new students you would help? Is it online acquisition? Is it offline? Is it a blend of both of them? Is it mainly word of mouth now?
Yeah, so this is one of the biggest challenges. So education in China, for listeners that aren't as privy, it's enormously expensive to acquire customers. And so if you're in Shanghai or Beijing or Guangzhou and you see a billboard with an education brand, it's safe to assume that person's paying 100,000 RMB a week for that billboard. If you see an ad on a subway, that's at least 5,000 to 10,000 RMB for a small subway ad each week. If you see a banner ad on a website, every click could be 300 to 1,000 RMB. Every phone number that's acquired might be 500 RMB. So you start doing the math, and it's ridiculously expensive just to get leads, let alone clients in the space. And of course, there are thousands of education businesses all competing for the same people. That drives up the price. So I give that as key context here, because we are a small outfit. Yes, we've raised $1 million in VC, but you can blow $1 million very quickly in China education and trying to acquire customers. So for us, we've been very, very lean from the very beginning. We got this business started. I was making 5-minute video tutorials about how to write a personal statement or how to pitch yourself in a scholarship application from my dorm room at Cambridge University. And then I would upload those videos onto Ren, which was like it was like the WeChat before WeChat back in 2011, 2012. And these videos got a little bit of traction because people found them useful. They would share them. And, I woke up one day and it's like, whoa, that video I made last week has 250,000 views. Wow. And that was how we acquired the first customer. So it was all about content. It was all about showing our expertise and then getting people to find it valuable enough to share it. And so it was all about sort of that free advertising. And that mentality has guided us ever since. We've written over 1,000 articles, produced hundreds of videos, and then we've done, I've spoken at upwards of 1,000 events in China, ranging from campus lectures to webinars to saying yes to all kinds of conference invitations and forum invitations. And the result of that is we're able to advertise much, much more effectively. And so a lot of that is just literally shaking someone's hand, learning about their goal. Hey, we can actually help you. You've got a goal that is part of our expertise. Let us help you. And so we've had far more success with that. Of course, we've also tested Baidu, and I've wasted 30,000 RMB on Baidu ads that literally went nowhere. I've wasted a lot of cash on other online digital ad buys because really there's a suspicion that I think a lot of Chinese consumers have around stuff that's advertised online. You don't know what this is. You're far more privy to, or far more likely to actually go with a friend's recommendation. And so a big part of our business is just doing a great job and getting one friend to recommend another. And 40% of our customers will actually recommend a friend who then signs up. So it's very word of mouth driven. That's far more capital efficient for us. And it allows us to really focus on our product and our service instead of building a big marketing team. Like we literally don't have a marketer at HQ because we're able just to focus on client delivery and do a good job with it.
Word of mouth is great because it shows that your products and your service is working, but it's slow. It's slow. Word of mouth is slow, and it's difficult to manage. How do you? What's your perspective on that? To speed up. You say you don't have a marketer, but you create content. When you create content, could you elaborate more about what you do now? It seems that it's very social. Less SEO driven, so less search and more social. Would you mind sharing a bit more about the content you create and how you accelerate the growth based on word of mouth?
Absolutely, yeah. So the way that we do it, actually, our scholars, happy customers, they do a lot of our marketing for us, and so they will actually write a WeChat article. Hey, here's what I'm learning from my mentor. My mentor went to Yale and got a scholarship there. Here's what they're teaching me. And so it's very, very instructive. It's not an advertisement. It's not, hey, go buy from Dyad. It's very, very much, here's how this person has helped me. Here's how I've expanded my worldview. Here's this new perspective I have. And then, here's pretty actionable intelligence for those of you reading this WeChat article. Go do this. My mentor taught me about the importance of a morning routine. My mentor taught me a better format to brainstorm. My mentor taught me how to ask a professor for a recommendation letter. And basically, if you make it actionable and you make it interesting and kind of fun and engaging, people then share it. And so what we've seen is a lot of our articles will have thousands of shares because students find it useful and students want to help their friends out. So that has been the strategy. And you're right, it's slower than going and buying a big ad buy on Baidu later today. But ultimately, I think it will just convert at a much, much higher rate. So that's how we've approached that so far. And almost all of our customers from places like Honduras or Colombia or Egypt or France or Japan or Korea, those folks come through Google. And actually, they will Google things like, how do I write the UPenn essay? Well, I'm glad you asked because Google just ranked our article by that name, number one. How do I ask a recommendation letter? Well, we're on the front page if you query that. And so people read this article and it's like, wow, that's really good advice from this guy from Oxford. Or this gal from UPenn. I want to connect. I want to figure out how I can actually write a great essay to UPenn as it applies to me. I need a mentor. And we make it really easy to actually click to connect with a mentor right there on Dyad.com. And before you know it, we're working with Carlos, this wonderful Honduran who dreams of being a doctor someday. And wow, that's just so cool. I have never been to Honduras. I've never met a Honduran to my knowledge. And yet here we are helping a wonderful student from Honduras as he prepares his application.
I see. So user-generated content, basically by the user or the client, the scholars, is for you the way to generate content. What about in China? Do you publish directly to your blog, or do you publish on WeChat, or do you publish to all those platforms plus some Q&A platform like Zhihu and so on? What are your favorite platforms?
Yep, two favorite in China are WeChat and Zhihu. Zhihu, the Q&A Quora-like platform, is a really, really nice way for us to show expertise. Because if you go and dig into some of Dyad's answers, what you'll see is there'll be a question, hey, how can I prepare my resume before I apply for a scholarship? A lot of the answers before Dyad weighs in will be very, very two or three sentences, not super insightful, very little depth. It'll almost be a little bit snarky, a little bit kind of like, here's this clever answer. Hey, do better stuff, do cooler things. That's not very helpful to someone that actually has a genuine question. And one of our scholars or one of my colleagues will weigh in with a very, in-depth, point by point by point. Here are 7 things that you can do today to improve your resume. And it's sort of night and day. And on that platform, people then give thumbs up to the answers that they appreciate, that they want to upvote so that more people see them. And on a lot of these questions, Dyad will be the most upvoted. And so that's our style. We actually don't answer a ton of questions, but those that we do a good job at. And that's our mentality.
So do you feel Zhihu is giving you visibility? Because difficulty with WeChat is that it's some way closed. You cannot get onto WeChat through Baidu or through a search. You have to be referred. It's good for word of mouth, but again, it's slow, it's closed, it's more selective. But Zhihu is ranked by Baidu, and people may go on Zhihu to look for questions.
Precisely. And, I mentioned to you here a few minutes ago that we need coachable and motivated customers. That's the key for us for this platform to work. If you're on Zhihu and you're looking up a question like, how do I write a great essay? Or how do I make a good CV? How do I prepare for an interview? Well, boom. I know for sure that you're someone that's motivated because you're actually doing the work. You're not just paying some study abroad agent to write an essay for you or to draft out your interview prep notes. You're doing the hard work here. And those are the students that I'm most motivated to help. I was a scholarship student myself. That's why I started this business 7 years ago. And because of that, we're able to find more of the right folks on Zhihu. So I'm partial to Zhihu. I think it's a great platform and it's a wonderful free resource that folks can learn from. And I want to be a voice there to help more folks kind of inform themselves as they go.
Interesting. It's a second business I know which has been partly built on Zhihu. Another one is a cosmetic business. She built it on Zhihu initially. It's a very interesting platform. I have a concern about conflict of interest in your business. I feel that some players in the field have a conflict of interest and get payment from the university and from the students, the scholars. And actually, they push some universities which may be less known, but need to fill in the quota of students. How do you answer this conflict of interest?
Yeah, I think it's a really powerful one. And you see a lot of players take a lot of shortcuts and they end up hurting universities, hurting students, just to enrich their bottom line. And so, for us, we've actually never accepted a dollar. We've never made any revenue at all from universities. And the main reason is we want to be a purely honest broker doing the right thing for each student. And every student's path will be different. And we don't want to, yes, Utah Valley State University is where you belong. Secretly, I'm taking $5,000 from Utah Valley State University. We don't want to be in that position. And so we've certainly been approached by a variety of places. Hey, we put this ad on your site? Or, hey, can we pay you $5,000 to even $10,000 for a placement? But for us, we've said no because we want to do the right thing for students as we go. And for us, we've thought that will help us build a stronger business that really does the right thing for each student and plays that long game to do the right thing.
So that's a topic, right, in the industry, that's a challenge, right? Some players are getting money from both sides.
They are, and a lot of companies have done very, very well with the both side model. And I think some of them, they've walked the right side of that line. and I admire them for it. My view is there's a lot of gray in the China education model, and as much as we possibly can, we stay on the right side of that line. And the way that I've just analyzed it is, as soon as you start taking some money, well, it gets much easier to take the next and the next and the next, and before you know it, you're doing things that you set out not to do. And part of how I envisioned our business from the get-go was, we want to clean up this market that has a lot of antiquated practices and a lot of unethical practices. And we want to just be a provider that does the right thing every time. And as soon as you start kind of cutting corners, your business can become unrecognizable to what you set out to do. And so it's easier if we just say, nope, we just don't do any of that. And that's the position we've taken for 7+ years, and it's served us well enough.
You said that it's a very lean business.
Yes.
At the same time, you raised $1 million USD from SOSV, which is a very active venture capitalist that you're in China. William Bao, right?
William Bao. That's right.
Yeah. So why did you raise money then?
Yeah, so our business over 7 years, we've gone through many different iterations. So we started as a kind of a content platform, and we were growing like crazy. And for us to kind of assume a market leading position, we ended up raising $400,000 to help kind of supplement operations, grow our team as we go. As new competition flooded the market, we realized, hey, like, this content play is not going to get us to the next level. And so let's actually look at how we can build a premium kind of mentorship opportunity. In order for us to build a lot of the tech behind that, to build a great product, we thought, hey, raising funds would actually help us to do so. And so we raised the back half of that $1 million. So we actually haven't raised since 2016. And we basically wanted to build the right tech and the right team to execute there. We've had really, really good fortune from SOSV, from 500 Startups, from Artesian, and from 2U Incorporated, which is a NASDAQ listed education company. Those are our 4 largest investors. And they've been enormously helpful and valuable in us getting to where we are. We've now realized the beauty of lean after raising $1 million. So, this is my first venture-backed company, first time operating in China. And so, you do a lot. I think you're learning as you go. And there are some decisions that, you might do a little bit differently, but ultimately, as long as you're working with great people, you're able to keep powering forward with even more momentum.
Were you part of China Accelerator?
Actually, no. I was roped in by William during batch 5 as a mentor. And it's been an amazing experience. I spent a lot of time at CA, the China Accelerator, and I learned a lot through their methodology, because I think the lean kind of style is a really valuable one, even for a company that's 7 years old, like Diet.com.
And how did you raise money? So we understood that the reason of raising money was to build tech and to cope up with risk as well, with scalability, and in initiating new product. But how did you raise money? How did you get the attention of them? $1 billion is not a small amount.
Yeah, so part of this is luck and good fortune. So I came to China, we started building this platform, and we were pretty visible pretty quickly, just because Rinrin was putting us on the homepage like every week. Our a lot of our videos and articles were reaching a lot of folks. So we were in a situation where investors were actually kind of reaching out to us. Hey, are you raising money? Have you heard of our fund? And that was a cool kind of atypical opportunity back in 2012, 2013, 2014, and that helped us put together the seed round with some really just great folks as we go. As we got to the second round of funding, our investors had watched us, had seen us execute. They were excited about what we were doing, and they were excited to put us in touch with their friends to kind of fill out the round. So, my kind of advice here, what worked for us is put yourself out there, go to a lot of meetups, build your network. It helps to know a few folks, and then critically important is keep people updated, keep them apprised of your progress. And it can be as simple as like a monthly note. Hey, here's the 3 things we achieved last month. Here are the 3 things we're going to achieve next month. And then write that update again. Here are the 3 things we achieved based on what I told you. Here are the next 3 things. And, I did that for the first 3 years of the business. And it basically showed investors that we have a nose for execution, and we like to get stuff done, and we like to move fast. We like to set big goals and then get after it. And that's my mentality. It's like, look, startups are fun because you can get agile, you can achieve big stuff, but use that to your advantage and really show people, that you're on kind of the founder's clock, and you're able to just like move fast, get stuff done. And that, as simple as that sounds, that's how we raised money. We then got to talking terms. We agreed on basic terms, and we got used like the simplest documents we could. And, we paid a grand total like $5,000 for legal fees for all of this, which is unheard of low. You could burn a lot of cash on lawyers, but we basically built good relationships and then used super vanilla documents, got the deal done for very little, and got back to building the business.
Is that the thing, actually? When you meet with investors, you meet with people who want to invest as even business angels, you need a no is never a definite no. If you
Absolutely.
keep updating them, actually they may say yes, or they may refer you to someone else who would like to invest in this sector.
Precisely. We've had a couple of really, really fun ones where the no really means not now. And a number of times this has happened where it's like, hey, can we do this thing? No. And instead of being deflated, let me just keep you updated. And 6 months later, you go out for another coffee, and hey, well, the investor then shares, hey, we're actually raising a new fund, and given your current growth, let's stay in touch on this. And a number of those folks have become, a couple of folks that said no through their fund wrote a check as an angel because, their partner may not have agreed, but they see the promise, they write the check. And in other cases, the fund is taking too long, they still come on board. And so, keep folks updated. And, we faced 80 or 90 no's, for the 13 yeses that we got. And we found the right 13 people that believe in what we're doing, that are trying to help us as we go. So it ultimately that's what you need. You need one yes, and that one yes then leads to a lot of momentum. It leads to referrals, and even those no's, as you put it, that can lead to new intros and new introductions.
Talking about surrounding with great people, you have as a board, in the advisory board, a board member, you have the McDonald's CEO. I don't know if it's China or other country, and you have a U.S. Air Force Secretary. First, how do you get them? And secondly, how do you incentivize them? How do you keep them motivated?
Yeah, so I'm a huge believer in luck surface area. You've got to give yourself the best chance to get lucky day in, day out, because as an entrepreneur, you have to kind of make your own luck sometimes. I'll tell you the quick story of how I met Ed Renzi, the former CEO of McDonald's. I was at a conference, and we're at lunch. There's 12 people around a table. Most are in their 20s. And then there's one gentleman who is clearly much, much older. He's in his 70s. He's sitting next to me, and we strike up a conversation. And while most of the gentlemen around the table are talking about the party last night, or how excited they are to go hit, we're in New Orleans, how excited we are to go hit Bourbon Street tonight, I'm chatting about, with this fellow. He's peppering me with questions about, oh, you're in China. Wow. Tell me more about your business. And he's asking me the kind of questions that show, this is a really sharp guy. After 5 or 6 minutes of kind of giving my elevator pitch, the MC heads up to the microphone. And before I have a chance to really get to know what this guy's up to, the MC kind of clanks the glass and it begins introducing today's keynote speaker, the former CEO of McDonald's, Ed Renzi. This gentleman who's next to me stands up, taps me on the shoulder twice, and heads up to that microphone. And in that speech, one of his big messages is, as young people, you need to take more risks. Take more risks because you never know where your career can go when you aim big and you swing for the fences. Wow, that's a beautiful message. And then he literally points at the table and says, look, this young man here, he moved to China to start his own business. You can also take big risks like this. And when you're young, the cost of failure is so low. You just go get a job like everybody else is doing. And I was like, wow, the CEO of McDonald's talking about me and my business. And so at the end of it, I give him my card. I get one of his cards, and I say, look, I'm trying to build, I'm learning so much as I go, but I want to learn faster. I'm building an advisory board, and I'd be so honored if you join it. And he, I'll stop you right there. count me in. I want to help. And so how do you incentivize? Well, in this fellow's case, he has made all the money that he needs for his life. He now is in a place where he wants to make a bigger social impact by contributing to kind of mission-driven organizations. And so for him, the way that he does that is by helping mentor young business people that are working on mission-driven organizations. And so for him, he doesn't need, stock options. He doesn't need a salary or a commission or something. He does want to be updated about our progress. He does want to know, that his time is being well invested. And really that's what I try to do with him, with the Air Force Secretary, with the former chairman of the Jefferson Awards and the other kind of luminaries that we've worked with is how do we create a really inspiring experience for them? And a lot of it is we're doing good work and we want to showcase that for these folks.
In this case, I feel that the skill which is needed is to know how to manage relationship, how to know what's important to say, what would be interesting for them, where they will feel valued. That's the key.
Absolutely. And making it really being thoughtful about it too. So for instance, this fellow Ed Renzi, what is he really looking for here? And very quickly, look, no, even if he owned 100% of Dyad, that would never move the needle for him financially compared to what he's already done. That's just not going to be of interest. And so what would be? And so kind of doing a little bit of analysis on that. And then, making sure that the time that he's investing is in alignment with that value that he has. So yeah, you're right. Relationship management is a underrated skill, I think, with entrepreneurs.
Talking about the market, so you said 80% of your clients, of your scholars, students you help are Chinese. How do you analyze the current situation of Chinese going overseas for studying? We are in a very specific moment. There's a trade war. Chinese universities are getting better and better. Nottingham is in Ningbo, for instance, and some universities have invested to build campuses, to build strong relationship with Chinese universities. So you can go to a good university by doing a dual degree, an exchange. What's the current situation of the market from your side?
Yeah, it's an interesting moment in a number of respects. There's big opportunities in that. Because of the one-child policy, there's this just decade plus long mega trend where families are really, really trying to position their sole child with the best possible education. And a lot of families have decided, look, that means we're going to do our bachelor's study in China, and then we're going to spend, $100,000 for a master's overseas. A lot of families, of course, can't afford that. That's a crazy amount of money for a lot of families in kind of the middle class bracket. And so the way that we've identified the market is we're going to be most effective and most helpful with kind of that middle class and upper middle class strata.
I see.
Those that are super affluent, they don't need scholarships. Those that are super affluent are going to work with a study abroad agent, a white glove boutique that's going to just write essays for them. And that's less our market. So for us, we actually look at the slice of middle class, upper middle class that really could use the value that we're able to provide through scholarship advising. And then we're going to focus on that cohort. Overwhelmingly, that cohort spends its bachelor years in China, because if you do the math, paying $50,000 a year for 4 years for a bachelor's degree, that's crazy money for these folks. There's no way that their family can reasonably afford that. And scholarships are exceedingly rare for those at the bachelor's level. It's very, very rare. And so that's how we've kind of sliced this. And I think that middle class is getting larger. I think that middle class is getting more discerning. I think they're getting, they're really looking for value, and we're able to find folks, and again through word of mouth, then do a good job kind of informing them about their options and then getting them the best possible opportunity.
How do you qualify the middle class? I feel that that's a definition which is actually evolving, which is not very clear. Upper middle class in China in terms of revenues, or maybe in terms of, as you said, assertion of what the need could be.
Yeah, so I don't have a precise demographic definition or income definition. The way that I kind of frame this as a sort of a mental framework when I ask a family about their budget for overseas study, if they respond with either a little bit of laughter, or if they respond with, there is no budget, I put that person into sort of the affluent bucket, where it's like, look, they probably are not actually the right fit for our platform, because a lot of families that have that attitude, they're the kind of family that is paid for numerous private tutors, numerous private travel opportunities, white glove services in their daily life, and really that the people with that attitude don't actually do as well with our model, because our model, there's no babysitting. We don't call you up, hey Johnny, here's the new draft of your essay. It's the opposite. It's like, look, Johnny, you've got to actually do the hard work required to make this next draft, and that's not for everybody. And for those that have been conditioned to kind of have handouts from private tutors and private agents and all, that just doesn't go very well. So it's not very scientific. It's very much, if someone tells me, hey, my budget is, I've got to make this happen for less than $35,000, awesome, you're my kind of person. We're going to actually make this work. Let's look up universities that could fit that price range, and let's look up some scholarships that, if we're able to hit, would enable us to go to a place like Oxford. Just actually last week, I got the happiest news. This lady Zure, she wants to create sustainable fashion in China. That's her dream. She wants to create a fashion industry that is employing poor people from rural places, and that's using low, environmentally non-invasive water techniques, because there's a lot of water required in fashion apparently, which I didn't know until I met Zhou Rei, and coloring and dyes, which actually there's a lot of toxicity to that. She's actually created her own studio that's done $10 million in sales over the last 3 years. So like a pretty serious finance operation from a 20-year-old woman in the middle of nowhere, China. And so I hear her story. Dude, Zure, you are incredible, and you have a very tight budget. We're going to make this happen. And we advise her on her public policy applications, which is what she's aspiring to. We find a great program at Oxford, which of course is way over her budget. But I say, look, Zure, we are going to find a scholarship for you, because you were just such an incredible person. We're going to make this happen. And here, a little over a week ago, we get great news from the Kwok Foundation, which is a Hong Kong-based, family foundation, and they are giving her $73,000 full scholarship to Oxford for this degree. And that's the moment where it's like, that's why we do what we do. And I'm just real fired up about that. So the short answer to your question is there probably are definitions that we could utilize, though I don't ask people their income, and I don't but I have proxies and little signals that can tell me a little bit more about where someone stands.
I see.
So yeah.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I see the impact, of what you do on the life of some of your students and scholars. Impact of the trade war. Is it impacting now?
It is impacting us in ways that I wouldn't have expected. So, number one, I think fewer students are aspiring to the U.S., and I think that will show up in the data, if not this year, then probably the year following. A number of folks think that President Trump is, arbitrary and capricious. A number of folks think that some of this is racially motivated. Others think this is sort of unfair bullying from President Trump, and that perception certainly affects the reliability, like the perception of reliability of the U.S. as a commercial partner into the future, and I think it undermines the U.S.'s position. Simultaneously, England and Australia and Canada are making it even easier for Chinese to come. So you basically have a place where the U.S. is shooting ourselves in the foot, which is a bummer, because my belief is America is strengthened by having really smart people in the country, working in the country, studying in the country. But unfortunately, the president isn't viewing it that way.
But when we look at numbers, as far as I remember, it's about 300,000 students, Chinese students in the U.S. Every year.
Yep, it's huge, and we're going to see if there's a modest uptick, or if that flattens out a bit, because that of course was growing 10-12% year on year for like a decade. So like there was huge growth, and my prediction is that will slow until a lot of these underlying fundamental issues with the trade war are resolved.
Quick last questions. We sent to you before the interview.
Yes.
It's to know more about how you manage your knowledge about China. What do you read to stay up to date about China?
Yeah, so I a couple resources. So I'm a big fan of connecting with really smart people and really great podcasts. So Dashway Consulting, I think y'all have just a really, really fascinating series of work with China Paradigm. So I think this is a great resource. A second that I've come to really enjoy, just launched, is Mosaic of China, with a fellow named Oscar, who was a headhunter in Greater China for almost 2 decades. He interviews fascinating folks. And so I recommend these resources as great ways for folks to stay up to date.
What books inspired you most when being an entrepreneur?
One of them is called The Startup of You, and it's the story of treating your life as the CEO of your life. And it's written by the founder of LinkedIn. And it really just inspired me to take bigger risks. And while you have a big A plan, a big B plan, C plan, you can have a really small Z plan, where if everything goes wrong, you still have a really good situation. And that framework has helped me just take bigger risks.
The founder of LinkedIn, who has a podcast as well, Master of Scale, right?
There you go. Yep.
What book on China would you recommend, if any?
I recommend On China, written by Henry Kissinger, the American diplomat and foreign policy leader. Really fascinating history of China that's very kind of understandable in just a couple hundred pages, and then how that leads to China's current kind of psyche and worldview.
What productivity tool are you using in China?
The productivity tool that I get, I think, probably the most value out of is OneNote. And actually, it's a Microsoft tool, which is quite popular, I think. And it's where I basically record various ideas. And it's that's really helpful. So I use that to log ideas. I use Pomodoro timer to do 25-minute sprints for getting tasks and work done.
What is the most surprising experience you had so far in China?
My most surprising experience was probably out in the Gobi Desert. I'm an ultramarathon runner. I'm running 250 kilometers through the desert, and a gentleman on a motorcycle is kind of following me, just wondering, like, wow, what's this guy doing? And then when I finally take a break to eat a banana because I'm really hungry, this gentleman offers me a cigarette. And it was just this beautiful moment in the middle of nowhere, bonding with this guy on a motorcycle.
2 last questions. Actually, those questions are inspired by Peter Drucker, the founder of business strategy. And one of the questions he's asking is, what unexpected success you have witnessed in China? Something you have seen as successful, and you were a bit surprised it could be successful.
Yeah. One example of this would be actually 2 of my friends from college. They started a company called strikingly.com. They went through Y Combinator. We're having incredible success in America with this product. They then moved to China to try to build a China version. And I thought, hey, like, it works in the US, but like China's such a different market and opportunity. They had to pivot and pivot and pivot and pivot. And now their China business is even bigger than their US business here years later. And what that really showed me is, look, if you've got the right team and you're willing to be super agile and follow the data, you can achieve just enormous results.
And that's the thing. When building a company in China, even if it's a subsidiary, you are actually becoming an entrepreneur again, because you have to iterate. You have to adapt to the market.
Exactly.
What's the unexpected failure at the opposite you wouldn't have expected to see in China?
Yeah, so I look at a lot of large companies that are extraordinarily well capitalized, brilliant people leading them, who come into China and they end up hitting their head on a brick wall time and time and time again. And, I remember back to learning like eBay. Like I followed technology trends when I was young, and I remember hearing about eBay entering China, and it's like, wow, like eBay is taking over the world. This is going to be amazing. And now learning about that years later and what all contributed to failures of that kind. Smart money, like a Las Vegas gambler, would have invested a lot of money on eBay succeeding in China and becoming a true global leader. And yet eBay now is a total shell of itself, and Amazon, Alibaba, others have totally eaten its lunch. That's the kind of failure that, even with all the money in the world, if you don't have the right strategy, if you're not willing to be agile, to follow the data, you're going to fail. You're going to fail hard.
Thank you very much for your time. It was very inspiring to see how your company is impacting the life of students, especially this middle class, which is going to be becoming massive in China and looking for improving the life, getting more experience, new experience. Thank you very much, Greg. I hope you enjoyed.
I absolutely did. Thank you. My pleasure.